So is that a yes or a no?
That's a no.
This is unbelievable. There have been 13 months of multiple congressional investigations, including 14 congressional hearings.
I don't believe it. That's your problem. Nobody believes you.
30 interviews with IRS employees.
You asked taxpayers to hang on to 7 years of their personal tax information in case they're ever audited, and you can't keep 6 months worth of employee emails?
50 written congressional requests and 750,000 pages of documents.
That's your problem. Nobody believes you.
False Republican claims of a broader political conspiracy.
Freedom prospers when religion is vibrant and the rule of law under God is acknowledged.
An informed patriot is what we want.
Welcome to Focal Point, the home of muscular Christianity on Conservative Talk Radio.
Muscular Christianity.
Where we relentlessly explore the intersection of truth and politics.
The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
Now, here's your host, Brian Fisher.
Hi, and welcome back to this second hour of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Let's start this hour with a phone call. I want to start with Lake in Tupelo, Mississippi. First hour, we talked about this Senator Thad Cochran, Chris McDaniel showdown in the state of Mississippi. Happy to take calls on that, regardless of which of these two candidates you support. 888-589-8840. Lake, Tupelo, Mississippi. What's on your mind?
Hi. Well, as I said, my name's Lake Williams. I am 17 years old. I'm currently in Tupelo campaigning for Senator Chris McDaniel. I'm a friend of Andrew's who just called in earlier.
Yeah.
I wanted to comment on two things specifically. The first being the arrest coming from sign stealing and defacing up in DeSoto County. I live in DeSoto County. I have met with the man who has been accused of stealing these signs.
Mm-hmm.
I've attended those Republican meetings. And that kind of brings me to my second point, where there's a lot of disconnect within the Republican Party. One thing that I and a bunch of other people, especially my age, I'm 17, we were really looking forward to this race being a good conversation about the future of the Republican Party. We were expecting more of a redefinition of direction. We were expecting a conversation about priorities that the Republican Party needed to take, new stances, or should we stay with the old stances, et cetera. And as we see here, it's descended into a bout of mudslinging, basically. It's a slugfest. And to see how the political machine works, it's a bit discouraging, but nevertheless, we are fighting for this.
Well, and Lake, you appear to be quite knowledgeable. You're 17. Andrew is just 13. You guys are very engaged in the political process. You sound quite articulate and knowledgeable. You have an understanding of why you're involved in this, and I really hoped you'd see something better out of this campaign than the kind of mudslinging that we have seen. But let me ask you this question: like, how did you come to be as aware and involved politically as you are?
One thing that really helped me through this is I became aware. I've been aware of this since I was probably 12 or 13, of the apathy in our country concerning public affairs, concerning, like, we're not all doing this individually as much as we'd like to be. There is kind of a team effort, I guess you could say, in terms of municipal, county, state, and federal government. And I became aware of the apathy of people. They don't care about their senator's priorities. They just care if he goes to their church. Okay, I'll vote for him.
Now, let me ask this question. Like, you're 17.
Yes, sir.
Got your whole life ahead of you. Senator Cochran, the main thing on his campaign, what everybody emphasizes is how much money he brings back to Mississippi, how much money he brings back for education, how much money he brings back for port projects and stuff like that. Senator McDaniel is pledging to go back to Washington, D.C. and try to restrain the size and the growth and the expenditure of the federal government and pull it back within its constitutional limitations. And so you're campaigning for the more conservative of these two, the guy that's planning to rein in spending, even if that might mean fewer dollars are flowing back to the state of Mississippi. And let me ask this question. We have been talking for years about our concern about the growth and the size of the federal government is the load that we are placing on your generation. I mean, you are younger than my own children. We're throwing bricks in your backpack, and I'm wondering, like, how much does that play into the fact that you're aware, maybe unlike a lot of your contemporaries, of the burden, the tax burden for decades down the road that's being loaded into your backpack? I mean, is that a part of what motivates you?
Partially. It's kind of unfathomable. Like, pretty much the only people who are able to understand the size of the national debt and the proportion of national debt for each individual person is something like $20 million per person my age growing up. That's like $17.1 trillion. Only astronomers can understand numbers that big anymore. That is part of why I'm concerned. Fiscal responsibility is a huge priority, not just for government, but for anyone. You can't run your life, twice your net worth in debt. It just doesn't work like that. And also, like, I and a lot of other people my age believe that the life of the individual, their personal peace, their personal affluence, their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness should not be infringed upon by other people or the government. And the increased attempts by government to regulate all the nuances of an individual's life, we're tired of it. We don't want it.
Well, it's really refreshing to hear your call. Is it Lake or is it Wake?
It's Lake, like a body of water.
Like a body of water. Well, Lake, is really refreshing to hear from you because you're somebody 17. I mean, you get it. You got much more understanding about these issues than a lot of people that have a lot more time in grade than you do. And I appreciate very much you giving us a call, and very pleased to see your engagement in political affairs. Your generation is going to have a pretty big mess to clean up behind my generation. I apologize to you for the condition that we've left this country in, and we're going to do our best to get this thing to start the cleanup process, and we're counting on you to come along behind us and uphold the Constitution and see what your generation can do to start getting this out-of-control government back within constitutional limitations. All right, Lake, thank you very much for your call. Appreciate that very, very much. And it's kind of amazing, really, when you think about it. These last two callers, 113, 117, very knowledgeable, articulate, engaged in the political landscape, and they understand what's at stake. I mean, they're not just doing this because somebody stuck a sign in their hand and said, go wave this somewhere. I mean, they understand. Lake, very articulate, understanding exactly what's going on in our culture. So that's a reason to be tremendously encouraged about the millennial generation. I want to make one more observation before we go to the break. Number to call, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. We're going to branch off, talk about the IRS debacle. We're going to talk about immigration. We're going to talk about Iraq. So if you have comments on any of those topics, we'll be glad to take your calls, as well as the Cochran-McDaniel race in Mississippi. But one of the issues is whether appropriators like Senator Cochran, whether they actually help their state in the end or not. I may have to finish some of this content after the break. But remember, Senator Cochran has made his bones by bringing money back to Mississippi. So it's all the things he's done for Mississippi, the wonders that he has brought back to the state of Mississippi. So the question is this good for the state of Mississippi, or is it bad? Now, this piece from the Washington Examiner indicates that federal largesse does not help the regular people back home as much as Washington tends to assume. So federal pork going back to a state does not help ordinary people as much as they want us to believe. Back in 2.